Hey, this is Christian Kane. You're listening to Dispatch Radio.
All right, folks, we're back, and we have a great guest with us. Judge Joe Brown has made the headlines, and I just so blessed to have an opportunity to talk to him and let him just talk to you about what is going on. And Judge Joe Brown, thank you for joining us today on the Dispatch Radio Show, and tell everybody a little bit about what's going on. What's got you in the headlines? This is a crazy story.
Yeah, it is. I've always been a person who stood up to injustice, and it's kind of like you're walking down the street and you see a mugging. Do you turn and look the other way and walk on, or do you get involved? That's what was happening here. This juvenile court in Shelby County has been declared by the U.S. Department of Justice to be the most racist, bigoted, biased, and unjust operation they have encountered in the history of the Justice Department, and they're under edict right now. They do a quarterly report, and the one that they came out with 2 weeks ago was just as scathing as the first. So when I walked in, here's what my situation was. I had no intention of practicing law, but a woman approached me about a horror story. If you can imagine a woman who's in her mid-50s, she just got a new job. She's got a happy home life. Her only son has graduated from a major university. The background check shows she's got a warrant from juvenile court. Somebody from out of state complained that she was the mother of his daughter.
Wow.
There's nothing in writing. Well, there was something in writing, but there was nothing sworn to. There was no birth certificate, no name, no description, no alleged date of birth. And here she is being arrested because some stranger decides to do this. Now, if you're married, can you imagine you've been married to somebody for 30-some years, and all of a sudden, baby, what's this warrant you got here talking about you're this man, the mother of this man's child? You don't take complaints like that in a frivolous matter where they're unsworn to. You don't even entertain that kind of thing.
That's right.
If the woman's got a child and she wants to claim the father, she can do that. But do you see what kind of mischief you could have working? Maybe somebody dated the woman for 2 weeks when she was 18 or 19. And 30-some years later, he decides he wants to get revenge because she spurned him. And he decides to come wreck her happy home by making such frivolous accusations. There's no such cause or law. And I won the case for my client. Basically, all it took was putting her on the oath and asking her just simple questions. Do you have a daughter? No. Have you ever had one? No. Do you have any children? Yes. What do you have? One son. Your son grown? Yes. How old? 23. End of questions. There's no cause of action. So I get this lawyer telling me that he's too busy and he's going to reset the case, and that's the end of it. And I'm trying to recite law to him, and you can hear on this thing, please state your basis. What authority are you using? What is the law you're relying upon, like any judge is supposed to do? But the person in question has had no career outside of being a referee for juvenile court since he first got out of law school.
Wow.
Now, me, I got elected to a trial bench twice, and in the 10-year period in question, I got the lowest reversal rate of any judge in the state. I tried many, many, many capital murder cases as an attorney, and I don't know how many as a judge. I represented habitual offenders and major violators. I was the public defender for the city of Memphis, and I was the first black prosecutor the city had ever hired. I mean, I worked with EEOC, legal services, was in private practice. One time I got the youngest person in the world off death row. He was just turned 15, and I got to stay 27 minutes before the execution from then Governor Bill Clinton in the Arkansas Supreme Court. Got the conviction reversed. I mean, I'm not somebody that's new to this game. And in 10 years, I never locked anybody up for contempt of court. I mean, there may have been some threats, but basically everybody cooled down. Let's move on and let's control ourselves.
So how did that turn ugly for you with this guy?
Well, I had him in front of me when I was a judge, when I had juvenile court up for some habeas corpus proceedings. The sheriff of the county filed a habeas against juvenile court. When I was practicing in the 80s, I took them in on many occasions and basically always won, because they didn't appoint attorneys to people that couldn't afford attorneys. They didn't advise them of their rights. They had them interviewed in crowded rooms where everybody could hear what they had to say. Tennessee law requires that judges sign all their orders. This man was not signing them. The first time I appeared at juvenile court 5 decades ago, I had 5 clients. The judge called me the N-word. He thought I was on his docket, and that's what he was calling the black defendants.
Wow.
Well, we went off then, really.
Of course.
And this was an opportunity to take revenge against me. They hadn't had a chance for 25 years. The last time being, they tried in front of the Supreme Court because of some remarks I made, and Supreme Court said they're quite all right and they apply. Yeah. So I was running for district attorney, and I go back there to look at the client's file, and I hear, I think it was my opponent's either brother or brother-in-law, stepbrother, something like that. They're discussing Harold Horn and how they can mess me over being down there. But I didn't back down.
It's just impossible to believe this is happening to Judge Joe Brown, folks. This isn't even like you or me. This is a renowned judge that everybody knows, and obviously he's laying out his reputation, his accomplishments here that compound this, and then it turns so ugly for you. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you understand, I'm not the only one that says this. The U.S. Department of Justice is saying this. And see, the slogan out there amongst the youth now is Black Lives Count. You see, if Black lives don't count, if anybody's life doesn't count, then nobody's life counts.
That's right.
That place has become completely privatized because the judge down there dropped out of the 8th grade, and 35 years ago the state Supreme Court said he could not hear cases.
Yeah,
so he hired all these referees, lawyers, to do what he was hired to do, elected to do, but couldn't. And then it got completely out of control. Bribery, extortion, political cronyism, and that institution got insulated in a place where it's accountable to no one, basically. And it's very hard to get any review or oversight over what they do. Now,
that was my next question. Is it the state that needs to step in, or is it the federal level that needs to step in and do some review?
The state seems paralyzed because of what's going on. Look it's very similar to what's happened up in Pennsylvania, where that judge got 10 years for letting money dictate what happened to the juvenile defendants.
Right.
You see, that whole thing is privatized. Now, Black Lives Matter. That's a truth. Everybody's life matters.
Right.
But you see, what's going on down there is something different than the hot and heavy situation between the police and the youth in the inner city. This is an institution that the Justice Department has called fundamentally unjust, racist, and bigoted. And it's being done to these kids and to families, and by extrapolation to poor white families too, just without accountability. And it's all about privatization and making money. Now, I look at what's going on nationally, and the upcoming presidential election, whether we have Biden, Hillary, or whether we've got Carson, or whether we've got Trump, I want to hear from these people, what are we going to do about protecting ordinary individuals? What are we going to do about making sure that this generation has jobs that are realistic? What are we going to do about telling the finance industry that they have to back their accounts with actual cash instead of the way it is right now? What is going to happen? What answers are we going to get? See Trump, see Hillary, see Carson, they all answer to us. We are the people, but we aren't getting answers. we're just getting a lot of bounce around phrases, and nobody's doing anything. You see,
yep, absolutely.
I've seen this when we had hope. See, I graduated in '69. I was class of '69, and we had hope. There were things that got done. We did some things that weren't well advised right then, but there was hope. So when I started this show that ran for 15 years, I said, you know what, this is a great opportunity to start doing something that you don't see. Let's start talking about duty, honor, obligation, responsibility, accountability type thing, what you should do rather than just what you want to do.
That's right, amen.
And it ran for 15 years. Now, I'm saying to myself after listening to this that I am going with a situation that's developing right now. Fall 2016 is going to be a new Judge Joe Brown Judge show. And the name of it's going to be True Verdict. And we're going to bring in a bit of humor, and we're going to start talking about those things that count. Like Colbert and Jon Stewart do an excellent job on using humor to discuss those things that are of concern to America in a fashion that's entertaining but well on point, and will focus you into thinking about what questions you ought to ask as a citizen when it comes time to step in that polling place.
Well, the one thing I respect about you the most, Judge Joe Brown, is you've always just cut right to the chase. And that's one of the things I think that most people that are fans of your show is it doesn't matter who's standing there, black, white, old, young, otherwise. You get right to the nitty gritty. You touching on high moral, high virtues, and really strong authoritative voice. And to know that True Verdict is going to take that to a new level, dial in some more humor, which can reach out to younger people, younger viewers, and hopefully we can break through some of these stereotypes and then some of these problems. And then it can flow upstream to create some pressure on these true reform that needs to happen.
Yes. See, I still to this day get out and walk around all kinds of neighborhoods, and I talk to the youth. And I hear what they're saying, and those who aren't getting in trouble but are close to it, they all have the same refrain: we need jobs.
Yes.
We need realistic jobs.
Is there a disconnect between the school system and preparing them for jobs, or is it just that the economy is so much weaker we're not acknowledging? I think it goes back to education though, right, too?
Yeah. See, you have to. I have had this debate. I'm a UCLA alumnus for undergrad and law. Got my doctorate there. So on occasion, I'll participate in faculty alumni functions. And one of my pet peeves is this thing about the students have their hearts set on such and such a career. Why should we make them have breadth requirements when it detracts from their grade point average? Well, darn it, if you don't know something common sense-wise about what's going on around you, your professional degrees don't make a difference. It's like an old lawyer told me, he just hired somebody top of his law school class. He said, look, any fool can look up the law. We need some common sense, and these kids coming out now, a lot of them just don't have it. And see, education needs to be more vigorous. It's at one time that was a matter of national defense back in the 60s.
Sure.
Right now, we are opposed in the world environment economically by the People's Republic of China, and they are making it mandatory that their body of students go as far as they are capable of going education-wise. We just sort of throw what we could get out of our youth away. We make it too expensive. We make it so it's all got to be fun.
Yep.
And what happens is more and more people fall into a position where industrial technology and computerization make them obsolete.
Well, and then we're also marketing it to any old whim and any old frill, right? How many people are majoring in medieval romance or, all these crazy new majors they've come up with in the last 20 years. And you're like, there are no jobs for any of these things. You're spending all this money to go to school and you come out the other side, make $15 an hour doing customer service because you're not qualified to do anything.
Well, see, you know where that goes to? That's this new thing of the trust funder.
Yeah.
I lived up in Aspen for a number of years. My ex-wife and I liked to ski. And I'd run into these, I call them kids, they're 30-ish, and they've never had a job in their lives, and they're bored, and all they look for is stuff where they can be entertained or maybe something that's a good cause. And they don't understand what their grandparents went through or grandfather, grandmother went through getting the money. It's all about life is for enjoyment. That's the only thing. You have no obligations except to have fun.
Yeah.
And they've tied up a lot of the money, and meanwhile, the people that, got to work to get it, what is it? They're looking at a thing right now where the statistics, I think, are 78% of the rich people in America didn't earn it. They inherited it.
Yep. Well, folks, we're talking to Judge Joe Brown, and it is a great opportunity to talk to him about True Verdict. It's a new project he has coming up, and just the voice of standing up for what is right, outing some of this incredible corruption at the courtroom level, these lawyers and judges and what's on the take in some of these inner cities, what's being done, these minorities is not making the press. I know we're struggling very much on our site, talking about some of the truth behind some of the crime and how that's being manipulated for political gain and that kind of thing. And I think Judge Joe Brown is definitely becoming a very strong and powerful voice in this arena. And I feel so blessed to have you with us, sir. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. And by the way, pay attention to what's going on. Go vote. Pay attention to what the candidates are really saying. Don't listen to the catchphrases.
That's right.
Listen to the stuff that's dull and boring but has a great deal to do with what kind of paycheck you're going to get. And I'm going to be bringing that out on the new show, all right? Promise you.
That's great stuff, and we're going to link to some of that. We'll try to get your folks to send me over some more information as well as things start to develop, and hopefully we can even catch up and talk again soon, hopefully for a longer period of time, but I sure appreciate your time and fitting us in.
Between now and fall 2016, I'll have the guys get you some stuff.